Hello everybody, my name is Heather and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I read in September. Now, I think I probably had a better reading month than I did in August, but it still wasn't nearly as good as I wanted it to be, but that's okay. I'm just still reading, and that's good, as long as I'm still reading. The first book I read in September is Dark Horses by Cecily von Ziegesar. Can't pronounce her last name, but she's the author of the Gossip Girl series. I received this book from the publisher Soho Teen because I am a host of BookTube tours, which is organized by Grace over at Lovingdom Books, and I do have a full review of this book that I will link in the description box below, as well as make pop up somewhere up here if you are interested in my full thoughts. But to give you a brief synopsis, this is about Merritt and Red. So Merritt is a human girl. She's a teenager. There's been a death in the family and she is seriously struggling with her life. And her parents end up sending her to an equine assisted therapy center where she meets Red, who is a horse who nobody can ride. He's also very troubled, and they spark up this really beautiful relationship, and she ends up being able to ride him, being like the only one able to ride him, and they do horse shows, and she's sort of the dark horse in the competitions. On top of that, we actually get to read from not only Merritt's perspective, but also Red's perspective, and I thought that was really interesting. I've never read from a read from a horse's perspective before, and I thought because the author knows a lot about horses, she has a lot of experience with horses, that actually helped me as a reader. It was more believable, I think, when I was reading from his perspective, because I'm like, yeah, that seems like something a horse would probably feel or think. So I really enjoyed it. It's kind of a darker story. I wouldn't say there's like the happiest of endings, but if you want a really thought-provoking book, I do recommend it. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. I also finally finished Demigods and Monsters by Raye Wagner. Once I got to a certain point in this book, I could not put it down. I really enjoyed it a lot more than Curse of the Sphinx, which I also did enjoy. I believe I gave Curse of the Sphinx like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So I did enjoy it a lot. We are introduced to another like male love I'm dropping the book. Male love interest in this book. This is another book I actually received because I am part of BookTube tours. So this is actually published by the author Raye Wagner. So Curse of the Sphinx follows Hope, who is actually a Sphinx, as well as her mother, and the series begins where the mother actually gets killed and Hope has to sort of live on her own, and she is having to avoid being hunted by demigods as well as avoid these monsters that could harm her greatly. So it's sort of there's this Greek mythology aspect to it. So I also have a full review of Curse of the Sphinx and then my first impressions of Demigods and Monsters, because I hadn't finished it yet when I filmed that review. In that review, I said I'd probably give Demigods and Monsters a higher score, and that is true. I give Demigods and Monsters a 4 out of 5 stars. Also from BookTube tours, I received Forget Tomorrow by Pintip Dunn, not quite sure. This is published by Entangled Teen, so I was sent this as well in exchange for an honest review, which I do have up on my channel if you want to get more of my in-depth thoughts. We have our main character, Callie, who lives in this dystopian world where on your 17th birthday you receive a memory from your future self that actually tells you what your life is going to be like, or like a little snippet of what your life is going to be like. And it's great if you're going to be like this really successful, amazing person, but she actually gets this vision of killing her little sister. So automatically she's labeled as a criminal, even though this is something that she hasn't even done yet, and she has no idea why she would even do it. So it's really interesting because we kind of get this question of like, how strong are the hands of fate? Is your fate really set in stone or written in pencil? That kind of thing. There is also a love story. I would say if you are interested in books like Shatter Me, you would also really enjoy this. I ended up giving it running out of breath. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. It is very young adult. It's pretty simplistic. simplistically written and everything like that, but I did enjoy it. It was a good read. I believe there is a giveaway associated with Forget Tomorrow, and any of that information I will leave in the description box, as well as any information about the other 2 books. I will also leave that in the description box as well. I also finally finished listening to Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is the 2nd book in the Diviners series. I read the Diviners last August or September, I can't remember, and while I did kind of enjoy it, I felt like it was sort of a slow read, and I didn't actually intend on reading Lair of Dreams until I started hearing about how great the audiobooks were. It's quite a long book, and similar to the Diviners, it was pretty slow because there are so many characters, and so you really have to get a very well-rounded perspective from each character, which Libba Bray does a really good job of doing. Some of the Diviners, we follow mainly Evie O'Neill, who she's from Ohio, and she actually gets sent to New York City to live with her uncle because she's got this power to read objects and read the history behind objects, and this bothers people in Ohio, so her parents send her to New York City, and this is actually in the roaring 20s. You just get this beautiful snapshot of the city and of that time period, and you are also getting little snippets of history that are very foretelling. It's starting to talk about like the KKK and eugenics and all of that interesting and kind of dark parts of our history. We also have this paranormal aspect to it. There's, you know, a ghost story, especially in the first book, it's very like ghosty. And then in this 2nd book, we're actually introduced to the sleeping sickness, which is while some people are sleeping, they're introduced to like these really beautiful, great dreams, but then the dreams like suck them in and then they can't wake up and they actually start like dying in their sleep, and it's like messing with a lot of people, so it's pretty freaky. But it's written in this way that's like very chilling. Like in this time of year, I thought it was pretty like appropriate. It's a pretty good fall read, I would say. I ended up giving Lair of Dreams a 4 out of 5 stars, particularly, you know, the audiobook. Anyway, so yeah, I just read 4 books in the month of September. I'm hoping to read a lot more in October, although my class starts back up next week. As some of you may know, I am doing online graduate school, so it's pretty intensive reading, so I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, that is it for this video. I've decided not to do a like specific TBR. I might do sort of like a fall TBR, so keep your eyes out for that, but I'm not going to do like an October TBR. I feel like I'm not sticking to my TBRs, so I'm just gonna not do one for October. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope you like me and like me enough to subscribe to my channel, but if not, that's cool. But for those of you who are subscribed and who do wish to subscribe, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!